later, but that stuff will come in dribs and drabs over the days. But we try to get the base of our offense, probably 80 to 85% installed in 5 days. So probably about 5 run concepts and probably somewhere between 8 to 11 or 12 different pass concepts to get that stuff in 5 days. So then now after those 5 practices, we have 12 practices before game number 1 to be able to rep, kind of like what Tim said, the base of our offense, and then we can continue building on that throughout the year.
Awesome. Coach Patterson, how about you?
For us, everything kind of happens in phases in the family. We're more of an install kind of driven deal. And, kind of like Coach Val and Coach Duke and the rest of them, we have a team that we've been with, fortunately the last 3 years and stuff like that, and they're still young guys. So, and we got quite a few of those guys coming back next year as well. So we're still pretty young. But the biggest thing for us is just trying to limit everything during this time, and in ASCAT, we don't have a lot of time for kind of handicap on some of the things we can do. But for us, we just try to limit everything we're going to do. I think this year, even if it is a preseason, we're going to go in there with 2 less formations than we did the year before. But the one thing that's going to be different for us is once we get through our base install, the first 3 installs is going to be 90% of our offense, and everything else will be situational based for us. And so we just try to break everything down in the family and the format where our kids understand what's going to happen in terms of repetition and stuff like that. So once we get through our 3rd install, we're on to situational red zone, and I would say 3rd down at that point, But this year to be even more limited in everything we do.
Awesome. Coach File, you mentioned, doing some virtual install with your guys. We kind of found out here in Maine, we're going to be able to do some virtual stuff with our guys between like June 15th and the beginning of July. What would be your recommendation there? What worked? Maybe what didn't? How did you think you had some success there?
Yeah, we use the same installs that we had prepared for the spring, right? So we like to teach by showing a picture, right? This is the play. This is your responsibility. Showing some film of people doing it. Hopefully our guys, so maybe if it's a new thing, we find some NFL tape or what have you. And then we go out and we do it. So we're able to accomplish 2/3 of our normal teaching progression. So obviously the part we weren't able to do was go out and do it. So we tried to alter that or kind of account for that by going usually at a slower pace than we would typically teach at, and then also going through things multiple times. As good as being in front of your guys, no. But I think it was extremely productive. I think our guys know our offense more than they did going into our spring season.
Awesome. We're going to transition into a little bit of some RPO talk. Dial that up. We got Coach Dearman to come in tonight from Kansas. Welcome, Coach. Appreciate you doing this, man. It's awesome that you take the time to step in and talk a little ball with us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys for having me today.
Wanted to talk a little bit about the RPO game, and I know I've seen some of your stuff, Coach, you put out there. It's great stuff. With your base runs, what are the base runs that you guys are using, and then what RPOs are you attaching to those runs? And if you could also talk a little bit about the pre-snap portion of it with the gift or the access throw.
Yes, sir. Is there any way that I can share my screen here?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna share this, and I'll kind of talk through and answer all those questions as I go real fast. You got a question, stop me, fellas. But this is kind of the way that I coach the quarterback of what he's responsible for, and I think that's what separates us now is we teach the quarterback a little different than most people because I have an O-line coach in me. My dad was a 42-year high school O-line coach, so I had to understand gaps a little bit different than most quarterbacks growing up because of my upbringing. So because of that reason, we are Gus Malzahn to a T. We run inside zone. We run a little bit of outside zone, but we run power counter and buck sweep. Now I'm going to show 3 different RPOs today, 3 different run schemes and kind of how we built them. If you want to, guys, let me go back up here. I am going to, if I can find the chat, I will type in the chat here my my email address. This is a PDF. I can send you guys. I see a couple of guys writing this stuff down. If you want to shoot me an email, that way I can't read my own handwriting, so I'm sure some of you guys are a lot like me, so I will just email that out to you. So here's how we build our RPO system. Number one is teaching our quarterback where he's protected. If he doesn't know where he's protected, then he's got a chance to get hurt, and I'm playing with my backup. So I coach him the same way I'm going to coach empty pass pro. He needs to understand what's going to hit him in empty pass pro. He needs to understand what's going to hit him in RPOs. Number two, we put pass plays to fix the run. All right, what hurts our run play? And one of our staples to our offense is the bug sweep. Well, what hurts bug sweep is pressure. And if they pressure me to the bug sweep side, or if they pressure away and they drop that in to the bug sweep side, we're not going to have as good of a run play. So we put double slants opposite the bug sweep, and that is our pressure answer. So it's really not a post-snap ride. It's just a fixer for our run play. Number three, who's the D-gap run fitter, and how can I affect him in his pass responsibility? All right, my Bible Belt guys, there's a verse in Matthew 6 that says, I can't serve two masters. I'm pretty sure that the Lord goes on after that to say, you can't serve your run fit and your pass fit responsibility. So we want to mess with that guy that the Lord is talking about there. And then fourth, the defensive guys are trying to go to these things, these answers, either blitz, they're going to man cover you, or they're going to play some type of this new odd front or bear front look here. So what I'm going to talk about today is our D-gap read. We have two different kind of reads. We run a C-gap read, which is the zone read, the power read, where the quarterback is going to fix it by running. All right, that's not what we're going to discuss today. I'm going to show everybody our D-gap reads and the run plays and the run schemes, O-line schemes we have off of it. Anytime he runs a D-gap read, he's going to stay on the spot with our D-gap reads, unless one thing happens, and I'll kind of hit that as we go. And then our pre-snap is wherever I turn your back to. And I'll show you how we build in our pre-snaps off of these. But whatever side I turn your back to with our run play, that's your pre-snap side. And then whatever side I open you to is your post-snap read. We don't like to read where we turn our back to. I think that was tough for me as a quarterback, so it's tough to ask those guys to do that. And then our basis of everything I coach my quarterback, this chart. Everybody still got me there?
Yeah, we got you, Coach.
All right, good. All right, so I teach the quarterback as base and kindergarten as this looks. I teach him what the A-gap is. I teach him what the B-gap is. Teach him what C-gap and D-gap are, because that defense is going to give me different looks. They're going to change up looks and coverages. And if I base it off of one man, I'm going to be wrong sometimes. So instead of basing it off of a man, we base it off of a gap defender. And when I base it off of a gap defender, he now reads a space now. When we used to just read a man, we'd read the Sam linebacker, we'd read the boundary safety. Now he's fixing a space for us. And if they don't put somebody in that space, then we hand it off. Because for us, we want to run the football, plain and simple. So as we get into some of this, so quick picture, if I'm playing against an Apex cover 14, the D-gap fitter to the field is the Sam. The D-gap fitter to the boundary would be the Rover. Okay, so I wanted to put one example of that on here and then jump straight to film. I didn't want to do too much diving into things. So this will be in the PDF that I send you guys today if you shoot me an email. So the first one we teach on day one is our zone flat concept, because we're going to run inside zone on day one. And for our zone flats, our center IDs the first bird in the box against even front. He's going to ID the second bird in the box against odd front. That way, we never push out of the box. I never want my center to push out, because that is the defender that our quarterback is going to fix. The only chance for an out push is the tackle but basically like the center fielder in baseball, can overrule the shortstop. All right. If that Sam linebacker's on the line, we'll make our fan call, our out call, whatever your call is. So we're pushing the zone to the field. So the pre-snap will be to my back at quarterback. We're going to run a 4-step rounded out. If I'm in high school, I'm probably going to put a hitch over there instead of throwing that rounded out. The next thing, the way we read that is it's like proposing to my wife when you're engaged. I make sure I am in love with her. You better be 100% in love with her before you drop down on one knee. And that's how I coach that access or that gift route that we have to the field. The next thing I'm going to see, do they have a D-gap fitter to the field? If that D-gap fitter is tight to the box, I'm going to catch and I'm going to throw that pre-snap hitch right there. If he's not tight enough to the box, there's no reason to throw either throw to the field. So it's all based off of a fitter. It's not based off of if it's open or not, because we don't want to just throw 4 and 5 yard routes. We want to run the football, and we build in the route to fix the run box. Now, this route to the field, that slot, if he gets any form of man coverage, he will run out of it. So it's a stick that turns into an out route against man coverage. We'll never throw it against man, but we will just run that guy out of the fit by doing that. And then boundary is my post-snap read. And in my post-snap read, I'm going to fix the D-gap fitter between the corner or the rover, get one of those two in the box, and then I'll make a throw based off of them getting into the box. So get a picture of one here. We're running inside zone. We're pushing to the field. So our quarterback learns he's protected from C-gap to C-gap. The only thing you've got to worry about is the D-gap. All right? So if they blitz the D-gap late here, it's really not going to affect me. If they blitz the D-gap post-snap, that's where it causes us a problem, which I'll get to that here in a second off of the clip. So you see he has the gift throw. He likes the outside route. We catch and throw it. So there's my pre-snap side is to my back. We get 8 yard completion. Same exact play. My pre-snap gift is here. All right. We have a genetic problem out here with a pressed up white leg receiver. So we never throw to genetic issues is what we talk about in our quarterback room. So I'm not in love with that. And then this stick, if you see it, most people are going to say, why did he not throw that? And go back to our teaching. So the way that we teach it is based off of the D-gap player. And is he in a position to completely stop the run? No. It's not about if the route is open. It's about if the run fitter can stop the immediate run. And that guy's not tight enough to stop the run right now. So then we eliminate the field, and we go to our boundary D-gap player, and that's that cover 3 safety. And that cover 3 safety, we ride him into the fit. We pull and we throw because we ride him in the fit. Same exact play. We've got the out route there, that Okie route. We've got the stick. We've got the post-snap here. So here's my pre-snap reads up top, my post-snap read down at the bottom. Pre-snap, his eyes are in the backfield, so he didn't love it. This guy is not in the fit, so there's no reason to throw the stick. So he ride reads the boundary safety, gets him in the fit, throws it out. All right, so here's the only problem with this play, and you coach your quarterbacks based off of the problem for this play is boundary D-gap pressure. With this double-edged blitz, my tackle front side fixed it with our fan call. If we get post-snap blitz, that is the only problem to this play. And the QB needs to know that, put stars on it, whatever you got to do to highlight that. I cannot stay on the spot and throw this with post-snap pressure. Now, he can still look up here and look at the gift. You can always just stand up and throw that. He doesn't love it because it's man coverage. The stick route's going to turn into an out because he's getting manned up. So anytime we get post-snap pressure, he will turn it into a triple option ride read. He will ride read to run the blitzer. The throw is off now. So you see him here. It's the same exact play for the receivers, and the O-line is still going C to C. Now the blitzer gets upfield shoulder and squats on him, so he hands it and he runs off the spot. So the only time we run off the spot on a D-gap play, D-gap RPO, is with post-snap D-gap pressure. All right? We like this on day one because we can flip the concept. It doesn't change anybody's rules. We go to a 3-by-1 concept with the tight end. We're going to push now to the boundary, but we're still showing our quarterback we're C to C protected. So the only thing you fix is the D gap, and it changes my pre and my post snap side. This outside throw will remain my gift route. But now my pre snap will be up top. My post snap will be the field slot. And into the boundary, like I showed earlier. A lot of people are going to say, why did you not throw this ball? The ball up top to my pre-snap is there to fix a gap. And because they are not putting anybody in the boundary D gap, there is no reason to throw the ball. So we get an 8-yard run. All right, with my dad being an O-line coach, I would much rather have an 8-yard run than an 8-yard pass completion because I know that it is a mentality to establish the run game. Now, I should throw the field gift route. He does not go to the field gift. He just goes to his boundary or his post-snap field read, and that Sam backer in the D gap gets out of the fit, so we hand it off. All right, going to rules a little bit. I'm trying to jam-pack everything into this. We're against an odd front team, so our center IDs the second linebacker in the box against odd front. So there's one, there's two. That means I'm going to work to that guy. So in this stack look, we found a way to get 3 double teams on this inside zone. Any questions on this first RPO concept? So here's a look of us pulling and throwing off of the field D-gap fitter. I like turning out away from, instead of turning the in, we like doing the out turn. That way that Sam linebacker cannot be in the middle and tip this ball. All right, then one more look here. We get D-gap post-snap blitz. That's the only thing the QB is concerned with is post-snap pressure. So you see he ride reads now. He could have ran this if this guy would have squeezed and tackled the back. Everybody good with the first concept?
That's awesome, Coach. Great stuff.
All right, now I want to get to power. All right, so power is a big staple for what we do. I wanted to give you guys a downfield RPO instead of the quick game RPO. So anytime I'm teaching power to the quarterback, this is exactly how I explain it to them. The definition of power for us is we're taking a backside gap and adding it to the front side of the play. That's the best way to describe it to a quarterback because by reasoning skills, I added a gap here, which means I'm missing a gap backside. And that's why a lot of people don't like running gap scheme RPOs because of that backside hole. We call it a hot gap. I call it that so when that quarterback sees this this clip in his playbook, it sends off red flags in his head. Hot gap. Hot gap means any backside pressure is going to hit you late because we have 2 blockers and they could be bringing 3. And if they bring 3, they bring the third guy, you're going to get hit on a late throw. So you cannot pull off a backside pressure. And I, for my sake, I put an X with a line on that playbook page, and I force them to sign it. That way when they get hit in the season, I tell them, y'all can't come back and sue me because I went over the policy with you, and you broke the policy. All right? So a little fun right there. Now, I put a gift, my gift on this play or my access throw is a hitch for us. If the quarterback does not like the hitch, he can give that receiver something else. I do that. That way the quarterback is not always doing hand signals on every play. We're going to give that receiver something in the play call. And then if the QB wants something else, he can give it. And then post-snap, I'm going to fix the D-gap player with this seam glance read. And the way the receiver is going to read this play is if he has a safety over the top of him, he runs a 7-step glance. If no safety stays over the top of him, he runs a seam. And that fixes cover 3. That fixes any form of zero. That fixes the new robber coverage that you're starting to see take over the world, where the free safety is the field fitter. So it's based off of the D gap. Against old school cover 4, cover 2, the D gap player is the same linebacker. When I'm playing this coverage here against this, what we call robber, which TCU's made famous, the field fitter is now the free safety in that D gap. And we will run a vertical seam if he comes downfield. Now the tailback is running, it looks like power read, but then on his third step, he puts his outside foot in the ground and he follows the butt crack of that guard. So it is actually cross-face power instead of power. All right, we've got our boundary hitch as my pre-snap read, but it's based off of those two guys, and neither one of those two guys are in the run fit, so there's no reason to go to his boundary throw. So he reads the field. This field coverage, like I said, we call robber. Robber means the free safety is the alley fitter, so the quarterback's reading that hat. And on this cross-face power with the vertical of 2, they have no field fitter, so we hand it off. That slot receiver keeps his rules of if a safety stays high over the top, he glances it. If this safety would have fitted, that guy would have stayed straight up the seam and we would have had a touchdown throw. I'm getting a cross-face power, which softens up defensive ends, as you see up top, with a downhill run on power. One more look of that. The Q should throw the hitch here. That's why I put this clip in here. The boundary safety got into a 4-3 fit, which is the definition of why that route right there is there. He does not do it, though. He goes with his field read, reads the D-gap player. The D-gap player does not fit the run. So we hand it, and you'll see from the butt shot, the run fitter is not who made the play. We lost up front. Our fullback and our guard lost, and that's who makes the tackle. If the fullback and the guard stay on, we probably get 8 to 10 out of this play instead. All right, and then one more concept. I wanted to throw 3 kind of different run schemes at you guys with 3 different RPO concepts and how the teaching's a little bit different, but it's the same off the D gap. We're going to run split zone ISO. And I know a lot of guys in the room are 10 personnel guys. So you're already running some kind of zone lock concept. So it matches up with our zone lock out of 10 personnel. The only thing that we're going to do different is our fullback is going to do a split zone look, but get up in the ISO for the mic. We do this for multiple reasons. Number one, because we do a lot of split zone. And because we do so much split zone, we get 2 gap backers. And that backer will scrape. He sees his fullback doing that. And because he's keying him, he will scrape out of his gap a lot of times to try to overplay that look. The second reason why we do cross-face ISO is to prevent CTE, all right? Instead of the old school fullback coming downhill, putting your face on face, and giving 2 guys a concussion, we come from the other side of the ball. And we tell him he has the mic. It's man rules, backside. Front side of this play is got inside zone rules, center, left guard, and left tackle. The backside between fullback, guard, and tackle are locking a man. So it's a zone man run blocking scheme. Because we do it that way, we're still C-gap to C-gap protected, though. So it still fits into the inside zone like RPOs. Then the next thing is I'm going to read the corner pre-snap here. And if the corner is low, it tells me I can throw the corner route high, the same way you would read the snag concept. So here's how I coach the quarterbacks. The corner tells you who you throw the ball to. The Sam linebacker or the D-gap fitter tells you if you throw the ball. So there's two guys that can come open to the field on this play. All right? The boundary is just that pre-snap choice. If he loves it, loves your big body power forward that you recruited from the basketball team, he likes him, he throws it over there. If not, we teach the tailback, it's inside zone rules for the tailback. Instead of telling him ISO, instead of forcing the best player on your football team to one gap, this thing can hit from C-gap to C-gap, all right? So don't limit your tailback on this play. All right, any questions, guys? Either through the chat or through just unmuting, any questions you have before we jump into the film of this one. All right, so here we go. So we're running crossface, what we call our zone lock snag RPO. Everything for us is one word if you've been seeing the playbook pages. So to the field here, you see the corner is high. So because the corner is high, the QB knows if I throw it, I'm going to throw it to that guy. And it's based off the D-gap fitter. The D-gap fitter in this look would be the free. They try to sneak the boundary safety late into the fit to get a 4-3 fit. And our quarterback started figuring this thing out and got real smart later in the season and said, you know what? You're not sneaking into the fit. And throws the boundary hitch. So we threw the hitch to fix the run box. And then you see what that snag route is going to look like right there. Looking at our zone lock, center, guard, and tackle have inside zone rules to the right, so the center is going to work to 28. We have a 3 technique that's hard to see here. The guard locks the 3, the tackle is going to lock the end, and our fullback is going to come from the other side of the ball. His job is to find A gap, B gap, or C gap, whichever way, whatever gap he needs to go through to get to the mic, and try to get on his inside pad to create a crease. You'll get to see a little bit of what that run looks like right there. The only guy we could not have blocked is the guy that's trying to sneak into that box late, and by assigning the QB a gap that he is responsible for, I just tell them, hey, you're an extension of the O-line. The O-line's blocking a gap, you're blocking a gap. You just block it a different way than they do. We don't count any numbers. I never ask him to count the 6, 7, or 8. Half the QBs I got can't count the 8. So it's simpler for us just to go with a gap fix. So again, neither guy in the boundary's in the fit. So here I don't need to throw the hitch. So he goes to the field read, and I have an off corner. So that means I'm throwing a snag if the D-gap player gets in the fit. The D-gap player is hopping. Here's our rule. Hopping means hand. Hopping means he's a late fitter to the party. Late fitters make tackles 15 yards down the field. So we get a handoff here, but you see if he would have got in the fit faster, that snag route will be wide open. If the corner was low and stays on that corner route space is going to be wide open. So it's a built-in shot for when they want to bring that corner and play press coverage. Now, another great teaching for us is I can get in any formation and still call the same RPOs. So I take this boundary receiver, or boundary X. His route fixes the D gap. I take him off the field and put a hand down tight end. And the quarterback learns the tight end fixes the D gap in the blocking scheme now. So one way or the other, by the formation or with a route, I'm going to fix the gap or you fix the gap. So if you've got a young Q that doesn't understand fully the pre and post snap RPOs, here's one way to just give him one gap instead of a gap pre and a gap post snap. So we're D to C protected now. Fullback's coming to ISO the mic. Quarterback's fixing the D gap fitter. Corner is off, which tells him to throw the snag route. We get the Sam backer in the fit, and there's the snag throw. And I've never seen the snag throw this wide open on throw. All right, so our center pushes this wrong. We should ID to here with the center. We're going to get our triple or our eat call to there. Our center and our backside guard have to work to that, which leaves our guard on an island anytime we got a backside shade, which you don't love it, but it is what it is. We're going to lock the end, and the fullback's coming. He's going to handle that Mike when he shows up to him there in that gap. So the right guard works for the wrong person here. Same play. I fixed the gap with the tight end over here. So QB knows I'm D to C protected. The only thing that can hurt this play is post snap blitz in the D gap. The corner ends up bailing on us. So I'm either handing it or I'm throwing the snag based off of the if defender in the D gap. The if defender is backpedaling. And I love it when the read key wears highlighter yellow shoes, which make it easier to read him. We get a handoff, and we're getting a downhill run out of a 21 personnel set with late fitters. So that is, I want to put 3 kind of RPOs for you guys with 3 different run schemes. We also run, like I said, we run buck sweep, we run counter, we run power read. But those are our 3 most deadly and our probably 3 most sound ways of teaching RPOs up front with those 3 schemes. And I want to make sure we taught how we read the D gap, which I think is different than most people.
Awesome, Coach. That was good stuff. If the other guys on the panel want to throw on their cameras real quick and maybe get a question for Coach, that would be awesome.
Coach, what do you kind of an overarching question, but is there one thing that you think your quarterbacks struggle with the RPO game more than anything else? Is there one issue you feel you always have to overcome with them?
When you I don't know how much you followed my career here lately, but when you take over an offense week 7, that's when you usually struggle a little bit is when you're trying to teach these things mid-season. I've learned the kid at Arkansas Tech I had was a 4.0 double engineering major and kind of spoiled me because he taught me more than I taught him. So his job in life is fixing things. So he was the perfect RPO quarterback for me. So I've kind of gotten spoiled with the past 2 that I've had because they're so bright and they're so smart at things. Overthinking is probably the biggest thing that I have come around. So getting out of that, the first few months with that kid playing in this RPO system, he tries to overthink so much. So he doesn't make – either he's too timid to make the throw or he's throwing it too much. So I'd say it takes you probably 6-7 months really spending time with him before he truly understands your thought process and your mindset. So it's more time than anything.
Sure. Thanks, Coach.
Coach Vile, how about you?
Yeah, so we also spent a lot of time in the pistol, Coach, and I loved how you were meshing the back and the quarterback there. Can you talk a little bit on the downhill plays, the zone and then the zone ISO, the footwork for the halfback and how you're getting him into the mesh with the quarterback?
All right, so here's what we went to about 2 years ago, Coach. And I'll tell you how I stumbled upon this, which is it's amazing how things that we do in coaching, we sound like we're geniuses, but how we stumble upon them. So I'm in spring ball 3 years ago, and I happened to walk by at Arkansas Tech. I walked by the DC and D-line coach in their office talking about how they were going to scheme up the side that our back was on. That's how they were going to figure so much out. So I go to my running back coach, and I say, hey, let's try the pistol today just to screw with our defense. End up loving it, end up understanding that it screws the defense's pre- and post-snap reads. So that's kind of how we fell into pistol. And then about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we took so much off the QB. You see how much I'm asking him to do. And I took the mesh off of him. And I tell the tailbacks, if you want the football, you will put your belly on it. Because I've got the Q thinking about so much other crap. And he's got so much on his plate. So my job is to make sure my belly's on. Now, when we do inside zone out of the pistol, we're going to take a 45-degree step with the opposite foot. And then we call it a swing step. We're going to take the back foot and swing around the QB. And in the process of that, my belly has to find the ball. All right? And I got to kind of get a feel thing for it because I don't want my QB reaching back there trying to figure out where the heck you are. So And then our path, as simple as this sounds, and I got this from Coach Malzahn, our path is we chase the butt of the center by our tailback. We don't overcomplicate it because you guys are probably a lot like I've been my whole life. The kid playing tailback or halfback is not the brightest cat in the school usually. So if I overcomplicate his rules, I'm slowing down my best football player. So we tell him, I'm going to press the butt of the center until you can touch it. And when you can reach out and touch his rear end is when you make his cut. And then off of power, if you saw us doing the pistol out of power, we just call that a slide and dive. I'm just going to slide step to the A-gap and dive straight downhill at A-gap and then get in the hip pocket of the puller.
Awesome.
I love it, Coach.
Coach
Thank you.
Patterson, you got anything? You got to unmute, Coach.
Yeah, I did have one question with the RPO. Just going back to the back side. So the front side of the first the first access RPO you went over, he has access to the field, and then the boundary is kind of more of a ride on the side based off if the D gap is not clean.
Yes, sir. So if they give me a cover 3 look and they put somebody tight in that D gap, then you take that boundary.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Coach Brainerd?
Coach, appreciate your time here. What do you think the most effective way here to coach some of these RPOs are as far as practice, 1, install, and 2, getting effective reps?
Coach, you're going to think I am absolutely crazy. Here's a couple easy ways that we have fixed it for us. I'll call an RPO in 707, and I'm putting my QB in worst case scenario because here's what I know. I've put it where you have no run fitter when I call it in a 707 period. And if you can complete it with no run fitter, then I know I can trust you completely when there are run fitters out there. So that's helped me out by just mixing them in 1 every 8 plays in 707. That way I still reps at it too. I'm getting the reps for the receivers. I'm getting some mesh timing with the QB and the tailback. Another thing that we do that I usually get crazy eyes when I tell people this, the same way defensive went to field, nickel, boundary safety, field safety, we went to boundary receivers and field receivers. So my X is always my boundary receiver. He's going to always be the guy that runs the glance in the boundary. That way, in practice, when I'm repping routes, I don't have to throw all 12 guys that route. When I'm on the left hash, the X's know they go over that way to the boundary, and I'm going to call just their specific routes that they run to the boundary. Our field slot is the same guy all season long. He's going to always be my field slot, and his routes are based off of him. And then our field Z is always the field receiver. So that's helped cut down practice time and helped us to be more efficient when we do routes on air, when we do perimeter, when we do blocking plays, because our X is always our buck sweep guy because we always run buck sweep essentially to the boundary. So instead of teaching the whole offense to 3 different receiver positions, they run the same position all year long.
They just figure it out if it's middle of the field in terms of where they need to be.
We still give a strength.
Got you.
Yes, so the strength still sets the slot, and the 2 receivers of the field still get set by the strength.
Coach, when you get man-to-man, what's your go-to for run game RPO combo?
QB runs or rub routes. So when my QB looks up and he sees cover 1, the first thing that goes on in his mind is QB run because he knows that nobody's eyes are in man coverage on him. And that's built into us on day 1. Cover 1, check to our QB runs. And it almost rhymes, so we almost try to make it sound like a rhyme. So anytime 1 high, QB runs. If he gets cover 0, he's going to check in the Max Pass Pro and throw either a rub or a shot. I am not staying in the RPO world because this is the way we built it this way. If I allow a team to play me man all game, then I am going to be pissed off and frustrated. So you've got to do something that hurts them. And the only thing that hurts them are explosive plays. 4-yard gains are going to make them keep playing man. So you have to hurt it. And if you hurt it, you'll never see man again. And you'll get to see that cover 4 the rest of the day. So just getting in your QB's head early in the game. Let's hurt man when they want to man us up.
Awesome, Coach. That was great, man. Appreciate you stopping in and taking a little time to do this with us. That says a lot about you, and we certainly appreciate it in this time where we're relying on a lot of this clinic stuff to stay sane. It's awesome that you would take the time to do it, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, I respect all you guys for trying to get better and sharpening your tools and reaching out to folks. So, like I said, just shoot me an email. I can send y'all a PDF, and there's probably 8 RPOs in there, not just the 3 I sent y'all, but kind of the way I teach the quarterbacks and a few RPOs in there as well.
Awesome, Coach. I'll be in touch, man. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All right, fellas. That's going to be a tough act for us to follow, but we'll do our best here, right? Want to kind of get back to, we were talking a little bit about, we kind of transitioned over from practice, preseason practice into game planning. So I want to talk a little bit, when you're looking at a defense and you're breaking a team down on tape and you're getting ready to prepare your game plan, what are the tendencies that you're focused on the most when you're watching another team? I'll start up there with Coach Dugan.
So really kind of 4 things that I know I always try to look through is, coverage is first and foremost, which can sound, pretty basic, but I think that just helps determine, obviously, the safety box. You're getting 1 high or 2 high versus specific formations. It tells you what the box count's going to be and kind of controlling those run defenders, those forced run defenders like Coach DeArmond was talking about. And then, me being an O-line and a run first type of guy too is, how do they blitz? Are they a field boundary blitz team? Are they a formational blitz team? Are they a running back blitz team? Just trying to be able to find a tell there on what they do. And then I run through also each week of an average gain by play type, play family. So how well do they defend inside zone? How well do they defend gap run? How well do they defend quick throws? How well do they defend play action, deep throw? Everything that we would do, we categorize it like that versus all the games we break down. And then also formations too. Sometimes teams really struggle against the formation. You may see that they've seen a formation 25 times and they're allowing 8 yards per play. And so, we may want to focus or find out why they're not doing so well and potentially try to focus on that moving forward that week.
Awesome. Coach Patterson, how about you?
I think number 1 for us is we're going to do our research on the opponent. We're going to figure out who we're dealing with. Everybody down to the coaches and even to the players. The biggest thing is the personnel. We're going to look at the personnel, and then we're going to look at how the personnel fit within the scheme of what the defense is trying to do. Everybody has some type of identity, whether it's offense or defense or special teams. So what are their specialty? What are they trying to do? And just no different than Coach Dugan, we're going to look at the formations. We're also going to look at our top plays. What do we like to do versus what we feel they struggle defending at the end of the day. And from there, we're going to look at favorable formations, and we're going to look at our top formations that our kids feel good about and that we feel good about as a staff as well. And I think the other thing is looking at analytics percentage, how those guys performing in those situations. Why they're that good? Is it the personnel? Is the scheme? What do we need to do to defeat it? How do we stay away from it? Can we avoid it? And if we can't avoid it, then what do we got to do to make sure that we're helping ourselves be successful against that particular look, in that personnel. But the biggest thing is fronts, coverages in the box. We're going to look at all those 2 phases, and at the end of the day, what are their top 3? Coverages. What are their fronts? We're going to start from there first.
Awesome. Coach Braden and Coach Wild, I'm gonna switch up the question just a little bit for you guys and kind of twist it here. If your best player or your playmaker is a wide receiver or even a tight end or a slot receiver, how are you kind of designing your game plan and what are you looking for in the defense to get that guy the ball? So Coach Wild, I'll go to you first.
Yeah. So in terms of outside of the pass game, and I'll get to pass game in a second, we put our guy in a position where we can give him guaranteed touches. So we do so in the screen game. put them in motion, hand them the football. And then outside of that, we make sure that each time a concept is put on the call sheet, meaning we're going to call it in this situation. We talk as a staff based on what they run defensively. Where is this ball most likely to be thrown based on the coverage they give? And we make sure that whoever runs that particular route, the best is running that route. And that requires us to have a formation system that puts guys exactly where we want. But we feel like that's worth investing in. And it also makes it more challenging for defenses to find our guy. If he's a single receiver on one play and then he's the number 3 receiver to the field on the other play. And then also tying him into the RPO free access world. You know, in a particular run play, where's this RPO, if thrown, most likely to be thrown? And let's put our guy there.
Awesome. Coach Brainerd, how about you?
Yeah, I thought that was a great answer, Coach. And, I think it's important for us is, what type of player is this guy? For us this year, our best guy, our best weapon was the receiver, and he was more of a deep threat type guy. So we really looked at formationally, what does a defense want to do to shut us down by formation. So if there's a formation where we know we're going to be able to get a one-on-one matchup, we're going to go to that formation early and often. A lot of the times it's really about establishing the run and being able to create those matchups. Now, if you have a guy who's good at catching the ball and making a couple of guys miss and get some yards after the catch, we'll attack that a little bit differently. Our bubble game, our screen game, as Coach mentioned, get him the ball in position to be successful. For this year, for sure, our best guy was a deep threat receiver, and we ran a lot of pro set and try to isolate him on the outside and had some success doing that. But really, for us, we look at formations. Where do we feel like we're going to get an advantage for a guy, moving a guy and playing him at some different spots, as Coach mentioned before. And it's going to change week to week. It's going to look a little bit different, but we really want to, find ways to isolate those guys.
Awesome, Coach. Coach Patterson and Coach Dugan, I'm going to give you guys kind of a pass game question. And then Coach Vile and Coach Brainerd, I'm going to kind of give you a similar question in the run game. But Coach Dugan and Coach Patterson, if you're facing a team that is a multiple coverage team, they're going to give you some different looks for sure. What are your top 2, maybe 3 pass concepts that you're going to bring into a game like that? And are those probably like your every game concepts that you're carrying week to week? So, Coach Dugan, you want to start on that one?
I mean, it's pretty much exactly what you said, Hath. It's really probably what our first 3 drop back pass concepts are for install. Those are the ones that we want to be good versus all coverages. So if we do see a team like that is going to mix it up coverage wise, and their top coverage tendency is only maybe 25%, and they're just kind of all over the joint, 4 verticals, and then spacing concepts that are going to help spread the entire defense from shallows to drives, things that are based off of where the defender moves rather than if it's one high or if it's too high. And then our quarterback right now, luckily, is a 2-year starter and still with 2 more years left, is really good at full progression reads of getting all the way across the field. So we have those things built in as well. Things that are able to attack every zone within the field, that no matter what the coverage is, allows him to be able to just get through his progression, regardless of where the people are, and know where the spacing is based off what coverage they're in.
Awesome. Great answer, Coach. Coach Patterson, how about you?
Yeah, I like to echo on what Coach Matt said. I think that was pretty good. It's not too far-fetched in what we believe in here. I would say the one thing difference, we're probably throwing a screen pass play there. We're gonna make you run sideline to sideline a little bit. So to make it easy for our guys, sometimes we want to just take the read out of it and just get the ball to the guy right now. Just let them play pitch and catch out there at the end of the day. But like anything else, if we're facing a combo team, we're gonna stay safe. We're gonna take our top 3 pass plays, our top quick, our top drop back, and our top intermediate, and we're gonna go from there. And like I said, it's probably gonna be a mesh or shallow. And then a pretty good intermediate pass concept and some type of safe flood concept, where we can isolate a high-low somebody, make it easier on our guy.
It almost feels like those games are the ones you probably play better in too, because you're not, games scheming up 8 different pass plays for the game because they only play a certain coverage.
And I mean, it's like anything else. You're like at a restaurant. You have a buffet. You can't be good at everything. You don't have time to eat everything either. So it really helps when you are facing those teams because you get a chance to limit everything and just keep it crisp for your kids, and they get a chance to do the things they're comfortable. You're not out there trying to rep new game plan plays and stuff like that. You keep your kids safe in your element, and I think you do what you do well, and just stick to that. But like I said, we're going to go with our top two to three quick games and drop back. And like I said, we're going to add a screen in there. We're just going to keep that thing simple,
Awesome, Coach. My dog's going crazy. My wife's just pulling in the yard, so bear with that for a minute. But Coach Vial and Coach Brainerd wanted to ask you guys your top 2 base runs, the things you're going to install first that you're definitely going to carry week to week, and the RPOs that you would like to throw off from them. Coach Vial, go ahead.
Yeah, the first thing, we install is we're a base zone team. So we're going to run inside, outside zone. We're going to run that every week against any look. We feel like we can do that against any front. We feel like we can do it at tempo when a defense may not be aligned. And then in terms of the RPOs that we like the most off of them, if we're running inside zone out of 10 personnel, we'll lock the backside like coaches talked about, and we'll run a stick on the backside to control that backside linebacker. That'll also have access with a bubble by number 2, and then a single receiver signal system that we can get a speed out, slant, or fade based on leverage. So the quarterback, a little different than the way Coach was talking about, where Coach was thinking run and then pass if they force you. We give the quarterback to take free throws pre-snap because based on personnel, we felt we had a talented thrower and some guys who can make plays on the perimeter. And then if you took away the outside, we would run that RPO. And if we wanted the run called, we didn't have to call an RPO. In terms of when we added another hat in the box for us, into the fit. So if we brought a fullback or a tight end in, well, now we would move that read usually to a 3rd level. So we'd run split zone and read a fit down safety, much like Coach was talking about. We like doing that mostly to the single receiver and running a skinny post by number 1, knowing that we could live with taking a one-on-one matchup with the kid we were going to put there versus a corner. And then in terms of the outside zone, the way we've complemented that in the RPO world, when we run outside zone, we eliminate half of our pass options because we're gonna block our perimeter blocking rules on the front side. So we had been replacing backside linebackers with a slant like a lot of people do, but the more I coach that and watch that, I think that it's a difficult read for the Q because things are happening really quick, and just because that linebacker is flying out, you don't know who else is showing up. So what we started doing a lot more is bringing a backside bubble option, but usually motioning to it, especially orbit motioning to it. And then therefore quarterbacks usually can make his mind up at the snap, if not shortly after, well before he's finished his mesh on how he's going to control that backside linebacker. So inside zone, split zone, outside zone, and top RPOs off all 3.
I like that, Coach. Good stuff. Coach Brainerd, you're up next.
Yeah, we're a bit of a mix between a zone scheme and a gap scheme. We'll run some pin and pull, we'll run some inside zone, some outside zone. We love ISO, and we kind of have a little bit of an old school mentality in the run game where we just want to be physical, we want to be violent, and we'll dress those things up a little bit. When we're talking about RPOs, we really think about formationally, okay, what defender has the opportunity to take this play away from us? For example, if we're in our twins open look and we're running ISO and we don't have an answer for that outside backer, he's apexed from the tackle in number 2, and we don't have an answer for him, we'll call a bubble, we'll call a slide for that number 2 receiver where, if that guy is aggressive, comes downhill, the quarterback will throw that thing hot. Our inside zone, we'll run the free access as Coach Dearman was talking about, those types of things. it's going to change week to week for us. Our outside zone, we like to throw the ball away from flow. So again, if we have, a 3-by-1 and we're going to run outside zone to that 3 receiver side and we get a free access backside, we'll take it. We'll also, on a 2-by-2, we'll have those slot receivers run slants away from the flow on the outside zone. And if we get, heavy flow from that mic and we have leverage, we'll take that throw. Our rule of thumb for the quarterback is he's going to have one guy he's reading, but if he's not sure about it, he's going to give it. We're not going to turn the ball over in the RPO game. So anytime he's not sure, it's an automatic give for us.
Coach, one thing to add in the RPO world, and this initially came from our head coach, but I think it's really good, and it held up when we went back and looked at our RPOs. The greatest amount of stretch, either vertically or horizontally, we could place between where the run was happening and where the throw was happening, the clearer it was for the quarterback and the more successful we were. So that's what kind of brought us to, if we're running outside zone right, replace them with a bubble left or an orbit motion left instead of a slant, which is kind of trailing the run play. Much like if we're doing a downhill inside zone action, we like throwing third level RPOs, right? So we're running downhill, but we're throwing a post and now it's a deep vertical stretch. And it just made things, the greater separation, the clearer for the Q and the more highly likely he's going to make the right decision for us.
I like that, Coach. That's a good way to put it. All right, I'm going to fire away kind of each one of you with some different things here. First one, I'm going to go to Coach Dugan up there. A couple formations that you have that maybe aren't your regular, most normal 2-by-2 or 3-by-1, but some things that you like to use that really, really stress the defense. And how do they stress it?
Sure. So I know one formation that I think is always different, even though it is technically still a 3-by-1, is nub trips, where you have your inline tight end and trips the opposite way, because there's really only 2 sound ways I think to play the formation. Whether you are keeping the safety over to the tight end side and keeping him down, or if you're rotating to the trips and you are bringing the corner in tighter. And so teams play it one of the 2 ways, or they play it a completely unsound way and you're able to attack it from there. But either way, whether they play it one way or the other, you're going to be able to either attack the nub side with run or be able to attack the trip side with pass. And then, we didn't do this too much last year, but the year before we like to shift to unbalanced and shift to a heavy look by shifting an offensive lineman over. So that was always something we like to do to kind of screw around with the defense. And then kind of what Coach Brainerd said, I was getting fired up over here when he talked about the ISO and an old school mentality. And I didn't say this at the front end, but my 4 years of playing college football and then my first 3 years coaching was triple options. So I was a triple option guy until, I was 25 years old. So, we like to get into 22 personnel and just try to impose our will as much as we can. And you don't see that as much, I think, now in the game. And we won't just do it in short yardage and in goal line. I want to do that in the middle of the field and open down, just to try to force them to either have to sub or play against something that we don't see that often. And then just love the formation. And it's not unorthodox, but true twins with 2 receivers one side and then tight end wing to the other. Just so much you can do from a run and a pass perspective to both sides. A big-time favorite formation of ours.
All right, those were good answers, Coach, because I was talking with Coach Lip earlier. Our 2 primary formations this year at Levitt were nub trips and twins wing.
Let's go, baby.
They topped our list for the year. So
love it.
All right, Coach Patterson, going to you next. You're getting a team that's a heavy blitz team. Odd front, either a 3-3 stack or a 3-3 or a 3-4. I mean, you're getting a lot of twists and turns up front, a lot of second level blitz stuff. What are you thinking to try to attack that type of defense?
I think the first thing is understanding how many people they're bringing and what's the tendency and what's the situation. And then number 2, from there, understanding what are our base number 1 protection fit in that scheme and do we need to tweak it. But the biggest thing we're going to do is probably we're gonna max that thing up a little bit, and look and try to go one-on-one on the outside, which just like Coach said earlier from Kansas. We're not gonna be afraid to press the perimeter. I mean, if guys are gonna come up and they're gonna come up, we'll adapt our protections and we're gonna do things to get aggressive. We're looking for the big play, big reward as well. So, like I said, our philosophy here is easy. It's 550, but we're gonna number one protect our quarterback. That's number one. But also, I will say this: in the situation of that, we're also going to look for a way to run the football. What are our best runs? Is it best to go speed option at those guys, or is it a way to go outside zone? So we're also going to look for that way as well. But the number one answer would be, I think we try to max protect it and just make it sound up front for our linemen. Just make it easy. So they know what they're working to, who they're targeting.
Awesome. Coach Vile, yours is a match quarters team. It seems like that's a pretty in vogue thing for defenses to be doing now. What's maybe the top 1 or 2 ways, run game, pass game, that you're going to attack a match quarters team?
Yeah, I mean, we see so much of that I guess the simple answer would be our base offensive game plan, right? And then find out who's giving trouble. If it's a safety rocking down, how do we control them in RPO world? If their matching quarters ends up being turning into man more times than not, then how do we take a shot downfield, whether it's through Max Pro or a post cross? But yeah, I don't know if I have anything in particular that I think our offenses now are, at least we see so much of it that we kind of design our offense into having success with it. So we run our offense and react based on what we see.
Awesome. Coach Brainerd, you're getting a team that maybe presses quite a bit, with their corners on the outside. How are you working with your receivers in terms of defeating the press out there, and what are kind of some of your favorite, routes to use in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, we work against. I mean, we practice at least once a week against press, even if we're not expecting it that week, just because you never know when you're going to see it. And we work a 2-away 2 concept with our releases, and that's for our guys, they're going to go to where they're releasing, back away from where they're releasing, and then back to it. And we think that that second move is where we're really going to work on turning those hips. So our guys know their goal is on that release they could be patient. They don't have to be going 100 miles an hour. We want to really win the route at the line of scrimmage. So if we get him to turn, that defender to turn his hips away from where we're going, we feel like we've already won the route. If we're seeing a team that's playing a lot of press, we're going to be pretty simple in our pass game for those outside guys. We're going to run goes, and we're going to run corner routes and post routes, and it really depends on what kind of shell they're in behind it. But the other thing too is if we're playing a team that's going to run a lot of press, we'll try to get our top guys playing that slot receiver. For example, this year our number 13 for us was a great player, and teams that press, we put him in the slot and let him work against what we thought inferior athletes to him.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Coach Dugan, you mentioned going unbalanced sometimes, tackle over or whatever. When do you look to do that, or what about a defense? Do you like to open a drive with it? Do you see something and go to it? Is it a second half thing? Like, how do you determine when in the game you're going to use something like that? You're muted, Coach.
Damn it! Sorry. Hate when I do that. Early. It's usually something early we like to do. So like Hamilton in 2018, we opened with it right away. And we try to go in, we're not going to major in it. We're not going to run 30 plays, but we go in with 2 runs and 2 passes. We try to have a strong run, a weak run, and then just two passes. Doesn't really matter where those are. So usually we go in with an unbalanced formation, whether it be tackle over, or then like this past year when we went to Hamilton. Hamilton's a theme here, I guess, of when we run unbalanced is Bowdoin had run quads against them, and they just weren't very sound to the quad side. There was a ton of space, so we went in with a run to the quads, a screen to the quads, and then we just had a run weak in case they over adjusted from the previous week. that's something we wanted to find out really, really early. So we ran quads. I think it was the second play of the game, just to find out if we had what we thought we had. We did, and we just didn't execute. So I like to try to find out early to see if it's something we can come back to or stay in, rather than, obviously you get further in the game, and you start running out of time. Plays start being a little bit more valuable and more at a premium. So don't like wasting things potentially late in the game like that. Just kind of want to find out early and kind of get them thinking too. If now they have to start adjusting and they're so caught up on how they're going to handle tackle over, how they're going to handle quads, and then we just get back to base stuff and they're looking for all this wacky stuff on it.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Coach Patterson, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about tempo. Do you guys have some different types of tempo that you use? And then if you're playing real fast, how do you try to communicate quickly? You're muted too, Coach.
Yeah, we have a couple tempos. That's one of our biggest deals, right? And we look at our tempos as a play here. Bottom line, we have 4, and we look at it a couple different ways. We have our tempo where we'll have a set play out of a formation where we want to freeze and get to a particular play based off the look that you're giving us. We'll also have our tempo where at times we just want to get moving fast. Our kids may be flat, or maybe our opponents maybe don't adapt as well, or maybe they're having communication. So we want to get moving as quickly as possible and as simple as possible. So everything for us in tempo, for the most part, just like everything else, it comes in the category of family and stuff like that. That also gives us a chance to, based off the opponent, if we need to tweak our formations based off the week 1 install, we will have the flexibility, because we're not going to try to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to do the things that we feel we're good at and the things that they're having a tough time defending. But like I said, we have 4 tempos, 2 freezes, and I would say 1 really, really fast tempo and just our normal tempo.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Coach Vile, 2-minute drill. When you get in that situation, number 1, what are you telling your guys, specifically the quarterback? And then number 2, as the play caller, how are you managing that situation?
Mind if I grab the screen, Coach?
No, by all means, Coach. Go ahead.
So
Show off.
yeah. You asked what another thing we've been using this time for is we've been spending a ton of time on situational football with our guys. So do you see my screen? Okay, so this is what we talk about in 2 minutes. And the first thing we say is there's always more time than you think. All right, so relax. In the college football game, the chains stop after a first down temporarily until it's set, which means when these guys watch an NFL game, it's fast and it's hectic. If you watch a college game, it's slower. So we have time, relax. And the keys to success is we got to know these 3 things. How many points do we need? How many timeouts do we have? And if it's a game that can be won or tied with a field goal, where do we need to get for our kicker to have a shot? All right. They need to know the ways we stop the clock. And I already talked about the first down. And then this is just making sure that they know, when the clock can restart on a set, so on and so forth. All right. We only need to score what is needed. So that's huge for our guys. In terms of what to anticipate, we tell them that they should expect – mostly teams are going to drop 7 or 8 initially. And they're going to start off with twist game because they want to apply some pressure. All right, but they're not really going to want to commit to blitzing at the gate. They're probably going to give us hard corner, right? They know that we want to throw the ball to the sideline to stop the clock, so they're going to try to force us to throw the ball in the middle of the field. And they'll do so in really 2 ways, or I should say most commonly in 2 ways. One, they could play some 2-man, and we tell the quarterbacks early on that Q run is an answer to 2-man. So that might mean that instead of forcing a ball downfield, we might have to tuck the ball down and try to push vertically through the pocket and get what we can. And as long as we get a first down, that's fine. We can snap a ball 1 or 2 seconds into a play clock as long as we get the first. Same thing, I know a lot of teams will play some version of Tampa 2 or cover 3 with 2 cloud-type corners. And if that's the case, we got to check the ball down over the ball early. And once again, as long as we get it first, we're good. And then in terms of when defenses' identities might change, after a big play or after any type of stoppage or play, especially if we had moved the ball consistency. We talked to our receivers about ball location. So when is it more important to get yards, even if it means you get tackled in bounds, and when is it more important to get out of bounds? All right. Essentially, if you can get a first down, we let our guys get it. Otherwise, get the heck out of bounds. All right. And that kind of ties into our quarterbacks hitting the checks down. And then this is huge in terms of where we get tackled. We want our if we get tackled between the hashes, we're going to put the ball right down on the ground. That way we're not tossing it to an official who's likely to fumble it and kick it, and it's going to be bouncing all over the place. And then if we get tackled outside the hashes, it's completely different. We pop up, and we're looking to get the ball to an official as quick as possible. And this is just, we do flip our receivers based on formations. We don't in our 2-minute tempo. And then we have a couple situational specific stuff. We've got a fake spike play, and we've got our end of game plays, Hail Mary, get a chunk play, and then last play of the game, right? How do you keep the ball alive with laterals and desperation type plays?
Half, you're muted.
Yeah.
Mike, you're muted.
Maybe I put him to sleep.
There you go. Man, my kids are yelling back there. Muted. I thought I had a good question too. How do you practice like that last play of the game, like the Hail Mary or the lateral thing? Do you do it with the defense out there? Do you just kind of wing it when it comes up, or how do you do that?
We do it on air. On Friday, we hit all of our situational type plays. The only time that we would run it against a defense is if it came up in our 2-minute drill, which it has, and we call it and we run it. But that's the only time. Fridays as part of our Friday cleanup script, and then if it shows up on one of our 2-minute drills that we hit during the week.
Awesome. Coach Brainerd, if you have do you carry a gadget play with you every week? And if so, how much do you rep it during the week? And how does that work?
Yeah, we'll practice 1 or 2 trick plays. We'll throw them in the script on a Thursday. I think we tried one this year in a game, and it didn't go particularly well for us. But we'll practice reverse weekly, and then we'll practice some kind of pass, some kind of running back pass or receiver pass, double pass, something like that. The guys love practicing it. I don't love them, but like I said, we tried one this year and didn't work. So
there you go, Coach Dugan. Low red area, like you can get around the 10-yard line. What do you? How are you adjusting your mindset when you get down there? Are you adjusting at all? Are you looking more at the defense, or just thinking more like, these are kind of my go-to calls down there? How do you handle that part of the game plan?
Yeah, try not to change a whole lot, because then I think you get into, and I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about different teams that play different coverages, is it's real easy to get down there, and you're usually going to see a lot more man. At least I know we do. And you want a game plan 4 different plays that look amazing on Tuesday afternoon in your office and in the meeting room and look great on paper, but then you get out and you may get to practice it once, twice, if you're lucky, 3 times during the week. And so how successful are you really going to be with that? So we try to take, again, the identity of a defense is, and when we look at getting down to, you talk low red area, inside about the 14 for us, being that low red area, is when are they going to shift? You hit the 14, are they going to go man coverage right then? Or are they going to go picket fence, across the goal line? Or do you have to get inside the 10 before they start doing that? Because it's important to kind of know when they're going to do that, because that could tailor your call, whether you want a man beater, a zone beater. Obviously, you can be safe and call something that has something built in for both. But we throw a lot of corner routes in the open field. Love corners versus man. So we try to run as many corners as we can, getting down into that area. Because once we get inside the 25, we're telling that corner running receiver that his aiming point's the back pylon now when he's on his break. Try not to get too crazy in terms of, like I said, scheming up plays. And we still want to be able to run the ball. Like to go 12 personnel and get in a 2-by-2 formation to protect ourselves off of both edges. That way we can run the ball. And then sometimes also spreading a team out can help you run the ball too. Try to make them defend the entire width of the field now that the field's condensed in terms of from where you are to the goal line and then to the end line there, to allow yourself to be able to run the ball effectively, and try to keep it before we get down inside the 5 on the goal line. Zone run, because you're protecting yourself against any type of high pressure team if they're in man coverage, and it's just much easier for the O-line to solve problems there with zone run.
There we go. All right, last one, fellas. We'll go right around the horn on this one. I'll start with Coach Patterson, and then Coach Vial, Coach Brainerd, Coach Dugan. You can finish it up. I probably not as big of a deal for you guys necessarily because you guys get to get a kicker in there usually. But I know, like at Levitt this year, we had to go for 2 almost every time. So, 2-point conversions. Is that something you specifically prepare for during the week? How many do you carry in your game plan? Just kind of talk to me a little bit about how that works. Coach B, start with you.
Yeah, I think for us, we're always prepared for that. That goes back to our situational menu. We're going to go in with our red zone, our third down, and also short yardage, and that situation as well. But for us, just kind of just like looking at it, when we're in that situation, we're going to go into with 3 base calls. And the one thing is we got to ask ourselves is these 3 base calls transferable? If we burn one, then we know next week we're probably not going to use that one. So we're probably going to come up with something else that's already in our menu that's designed to beat that particular package that defense is playing. But yeah, we're going to spend about a good 5 to 7 minute period just on that alone to prepare for that situation. And quite a few guys are pretty familiar with us. We go for 2 quite often here. We've had some issues with kickers here and stuff like that. Hopefully that's not an issue going forward, but that's been the biggest thing here the last year or so is we haven't had a kicker, so we had to go for 2 for a lot. So we have to have a pretty extensive menu for that. But ideally, you want to go into with 2 to 3 plays that you feel comfortable with that you can carry week to week, and maybe it only take you just twisting those plays, tweaking your plays, but that's what we'll try to go with: 3 plays, 3 base plays that we can tweak week to week.
Good California kicker coming in though.
What's that?
Good California kicker coming in for Bates though. So
and we hope he can really help us, man. He hasn't kicked yet, but we're praying to God. I'm not sure I am.
Coach Vial, how about you?
Yeah, we go into each game with 3 2-point plays. Our guys are aware of them. We rep them, usually on air. Not something that we necessarily put team reps towards. But going into each game is part of our game plan run through with our guys. They know 2-point play 1, 2, and 3. If we use one in a game and it works, we're usually coming up with a complement off it for the next week. The reason I carry 3, that might sound like a lot to some people. It might sound like too little to others. I used to carry 1 or 2 and found that I'd go, 4 games without using one. And the games that you end up using them, you use multiple of them. And I think that if you can plan a little extra there, it's going to get you into a better play on Saturday, because you had a chance to talk it over with your staff and look exactly at their personnel and their tendencies when you're in on the 3-yard line. So I think it's better to over prepare for those, especially in the college game. Our overtime rules, it's after the second overtime that you're automatically going for 2. So it's worth spending an extra minute and talking through exactly what to expect there.
Awesome. Coach Brainerd, how about you?
Yeah, we're pretty similar to what Coach Vial is talking about. We go into each game with 4, and we practice them once a week on air. And sometimes there's some overlap between our 2-point plays and our goal line plays. So, we might get into a situation we've had more goal line than we expected, and we'll go to that 2-point play script and kind of take something off of there. Then the other point too that Coach made was once we use one of those plays, we'll have a variation of it for the next week. We won't run the same 2-point play twice in a season typically, but we'll run the same type of concept and just kind of, dress it up a little bit different and make it look a little bit different, but all the same for the guys. So the guys are pretty confident, when we get in that situation, they know what the plays are. They're not scrambling, trying to figure out assignments. They've done it. They've done it for, however many weeks we've been there. They've practiced those same plays. So, we've had decent success on our 2-point plays. And I think a big part of that is just having the guys comfortable and knowing what to expect in those situations.
Coach Dugan, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, 3 is the number for us too, which I think should probably be called the Patriot rule now for those who are Patriots fans and remember from the Falcons Super Bowl is they had run 2 and then they had their 3rd one, which was the game-winning touchdown. So if people weren't carrying 3 before that, I'm sure they're carrying 3 now, or like Dan set up at Husson carrying 4. Challenge accepted. I'll do that for next year. But we had of the 3 we carry, normally 2 are going to be plays that are within our short yardage, within our goal line game plan. Normally, like there may be a run and a pass of those 2. More often than not, it's mostly 2 passes. And then I always like to carry a 3rd that is kind of non-traditional. A tackle throwback, a QB bootleg, a misdirection, just something where, if you get in a situation where either, you're going for 2 to tie the game at the end, you're going for 2 for a win, the defense can sometimes, it just, in my opinion, be so geeked up on, stopping either what you're best at or just going with flow initially that you can really take advantage of their over-aggressiveness or their momentum. So I always like carrying something there. But we stay basic in terms of you're going to see man coverage. So we have our best receiver runs a slant return really, really well. So we'll whip him out, run a slant return. A lot of rub routes. We try to practice those as much as possible until we get a penalty on it and Coach Cos tells them I can't run them anymore. But yeah, just things to beat man coverage and then like to have fun with it too. Because again, the kids like that. And like that we practiced the tackle throwback probably 2 or 3 times for Bowden week for a senior tackle we had, kid from Kennebunk, Maine, who we luckily didn't have to run the play, but we were going to score on the play if we ran it. I know that.
Awesome. Well, you guys are lucky. We had no kicker last year. I had to carry like 6 or 7 into every game. And if you use 3 or 4, you got to change them and whatever. So I don't know. Hopefully one day we get some kid who can boost some extra points through. Yeah, I'm hoping. Well, thanks, fellas. I really appreciate this, man. You guys were awesome tonight. It was certainly cool to have Coach Dearman from Kansas, step in as well. You guys had great questions for him. Awesome stuff, and appreciate all you guys hopping on these clinics a couple of times here and helping us out. It's been super valuable for all of us, and really appreciate it. So
Appreciate you,
guys
appreciate you, Matt. You're a warrior.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Some of you guys want to throw on your cameras and mics, come on in and get some questions in. Coach Solomon, you're up first, man.
All right. I heard one of you guys were talking about, taking your best receiver and putting them in the slot if you got a lot of man-to-man. When it comes to RPOs, where do you like to line up your best receiver when you're running your RPOs?
So I'll go first just because we're very basic with them, and we really only run 2 specifically. Is we run them out of 2 spots. When we go 3 by 1, we put our number 1 receiver into the boundary on a glance route, a 5-step post, and then if we're going to run it from the field, we'll run that from the number 3 slot receiver. Really, just kind of like a looky type route as he kind of works into the box, and the read for the quarterback is if you're running away from the trips, that backside inside linebacker.
Coach Vile, how about you?
Yeah, so I would just take your best receiver and place him where you think the ball is most likely to go if thrown, unless there's somebody who runs a particular route better than he does. So your best receiver might be a shifty slot guy that you want to get involved in the RPO game, running bubbles and running hitches and slants, but you might have a different receiver who can run that glance post that Deuce was just talking about. So, that put him where the ball is going to go unless there's a particular route one guy does better.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Coach Lip, how about you?
I just had a question for you guys that run, nub out of the 3 by 1. Do you have any pass game to the tight end side? So like you said, they'll spin the safety down over the trip side. You can go with a tight end and, put the back sidecar to the tight end side. But do you have any developed pass game there, a post wheel, a corner with a flat, like anything you guys have used successfully?
Coach Dugan, you were the nub trips guy, so go ahead. You take it
I
first.
was. The best thing that we'll run out of it is we send that guy in a corner. We'll run 4 verts, and a lot of the times when we go nub trips, they'll want to play 7 in the box and play man against us. So we'll just go 4 verts, and we have a 6'6" tight end who's a very athletic kid, who's a basketball, volleyball player, can jump. So we tell the quarterback just to take him as a matchup when we run it out there. We did try something a couple of years ago, like you talked about, where we would flare the back out, and we would basically try to have the tight end run like a hitch return, where he would push his hitch a little bit deeper, and then the running back free released flat right now, and we were trying to get action from that linebacker to the tight end side flying out, and the quarterback basically just read that space in the alley right outside the box. We didn't have that kid yet, that tight end, so I actually might get back to that, Coach Flip, so appreciate the reminder.
Good, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Coach Coop?
Yeah, I'd love to hear these guys talk about their progression read system for their cue, if they have it, how they teach their cue in the drop back game, to where he's going to focus his eyes, how he's going to read, how he's going to go from one receiver to the next to the next.
Coach Patterson, you got to unmute, but go ahead and take it.
Yeah, I said that's a good question. I mean, for us, everything kind of starts with an alert, and then from there, we'll kind of put in our protection to kind of help him where to start his eyes at. Because if you're in a lot of 6-man protections, and different things where the back is free releasing that, probably where you want to have his eyes started so he can protect himself, and stuff like that. So we'll probably use that outside of our alerts, the call of the protection. So if we're telling him, hey, 62. Then he'll probably start his eyes right, or 61, or he'll break that exception if it's an alert that he likes right now, the access pass. But other than that, it will start based off of protection and then concept.
Coach Brainerd, how about you?
Yeah, so for us, we're going to keep it as simple as we possibly can for the quarterback. And our quarterbacks hear it over and over and over in our meetings is they hear deep dump run. So they're going to have their deep read. They don't like it, they're going to immediately find their dump, and they're going to have an outlet on every play. They don't like that, they're going to run. And that deep part of it, what that means is every one of our pass concepts, the quarterbacks are going to know who will be stressing on this concept. So if we're running smash, they know we're going to attack that corner battles. They're going to throw it, throw the out route or the hitch route or the snag route or whatever we have on. If he bites down in the flats, we'll throw the corner route. If they don't like it, they're immediately going to go to their dump. So every one of our concepts just going to be a one-man read for the quarterback. If he doesn't like it, find his dump. That's always a win for the offense. We get one of our better athletes the ball at 5 yards with some space. We're in pretty good shape. So just for us, keep it as simple as we can.
Dan, do you guys try to run because you mentioned smash? Yeah, I know you talked a lot about smash a couple weeks ago when you had your clinic. Do you guys do it with a full progression read as well, where he is going smash side, and then if he doesn't like anything there, he is then working across the ball to the backside?
Not typically, unless there's something in a game plan that we're looking for. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the number side. So, especially a quarters team, a 4-down team, we're going to have numbers on one side or the other. If not, hopefully that means we have 2 3-over-2s and we're running the football. But, if teams are leaving 6 in the box, we're going to have numbers one side, so we're going to attack that side. Now we might, do something where we know they're a quarters team and we feel like we could get our slot receiver on the opposite side of the read on a post, and we might attack that a little bit. And like I said, that'd be a game plan type thing. If we feel like there's something that we could tag a receiver and do something different, then we'll do that. But if we just call our base play smash, we're not going to go from one side of the field to the other. We're going to go from that side to our dump.
Oh, Coach Capone's talking. It's the high school level, but I like going double post on the back of that, which is kind of something I picked up working with Coop over the summer. He runs a lot of that. We read our key for the hitch corner throw, and if they don't like it, they go to the double post and try to identify the backside safety and heave it.
Yeah, and what we'll do is, just off of smash, we'll have smash to the left, and then you know, if we're in 2x2, we'll have our number one receiver backside run a post curl. So now, you know, it's not the quarterback getting all the way to the backside sideline. It's hopefully him getting to the backside hash. And then that number two receiver is running what we call a race route. It's basically like an over, but now he's able to read high-low on the smash. And then he just basically turns less than half the field to now that race route coming across the middle of the field. And then it's really just another tick from about middle of the field to that backside hash to post curl. And then the running back now releases on that side. And again, you need our quarterback. We're lucky that he is very good at that. And it's the things he does the best. So he's able to go from left to pretty much almost all the way right and get through five guys to hit the best guy.
That's essentially why over, right? What you just described.
Yeah, but exactly. It's simply like we basically applied like cross, you know, like the cross concept.
Right.
Apply that onto our smash.
Yeah.
Awesome. Coach Nagy?
I'm good. I was really interested in the drop back protection or the read sequences that they were going through.
Yeah, Coach, I can talk a little bit how we talk to our quarterbacks. So
Yeah, go ahead.
the first thing he's going to do on a play is he's going to go through some pre-snap reads, and the pre-snap reads are going to tell him who the conflict defenders are. So with the exception of one scheme that very similar to what Dukes just mentioned, which is a true full field progression for us, the pre-snap's going to tell us who the conflict defender or defenders are. And then one thing that we do that helps the quarterback move through a progression while reading defenders is we time his footwork with the routes. So a typical, let's take 4 verts, right? And say it's a 2 high setting. So we're going to be running we call it a bender that number 2 is going to be running through the inside hip of the safety. Well, the quarterback knows that he's going to take 1, 2, 3 and hitch, and that ball is going to be delivered to the bender. And if he hitches and the ball hasn't made a decision, right? The defender hasn't opened that throw for him. He's then going to reset out to the fake comeback conversion. And once they reset, if they have not delivered the football, play is over. Then we're trying to find our check down. We do it on the move. This has made us more efficient in going through our progressions, and it's cut down in our sacks, and it's resulted in us checking the ball down a lot more, which has had drastic benefits in our drop back pass world.
Can I add on to that a little bit, Coach?
Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, so I think one of the things is we use the pre-snap and post-snap process. And so once our quarterback knows the concept, we'll come up with, hey, pre-snap, post-snap process, how many safeties, how many people in the box. Now, what's the concept? Who's the concept read? So if we got smash call, then we'll know we're high-low in the corner. Now, if we're running some type of 2x2 drive concept, then we'll know we're high-low in the alley defender, that linebacker, that nickel back in there, and stuff like that. If we're in a double post roll, then we'll decide the double post coming from, we're reading that near safety inside out. So once we get that clarified, what are you doing from a post snap? His job is to find his concept read. With all that being said, he does need to understand how he's being protected, and that's why we always bring his eyes to the side he's protected to, so he also can have the ability to check or manipulate the protection that's needed to keep the back end if we can't get him out for whatever reason to affect underneath coverage. But we'll use the pre-snap, post-snap analogy, and then from there, concept read. Who is our final read key? Who's the guy that's going to be our trigger key?
Now, do you guys feel like you cut it like just like quarterbacks? Like I know, like Coach Duggan, you said you got this guy who can read across the field, but now you got to switch gears to a younger kid. So are you still trying to like do everything through that quarterback's eyes? Is that pretty typical, like how you guys would set up a game plan? Like what that kid can handle?
Exactly.
What you want?
Exactly. And we'll try to progress. So now when we're lucky to have a kid who started for 2 years and he's got 2 years left. And, in 3 years, we're going to have to hopefully either have a kid that can do what our guy's doing right now, or we're just going to have to simplify things. And, what becomes our full progression reads will probably now become a one side read, potentially mirror it on both sides and let him pick whatever sides he wants based off what that look is, or potentially just go split concept and do kind of that same thing too and let him choose the best side. So now he doesn't have to go from one side to the other. He can just stick it to one side.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we in our drop back world, we really only carry stuff that we feel has answers to most everything. So we call 4 verts, and we run some different mesh variations and a couple full field progressions similar to like Coach was talking about. And we prepare our quarterbacks to read the defense, and for the most part, all 4 or 5 routes are live. But that's not all of our pass game. A big part of our pass game is 7-man protections, and we cut the field in half. And similar to like Coach Dan was saying about, I like that deep dump or ditch or whatever it was. I like the wordage. When we get into some of those 7-man protects, it's post wheel check down. It's post deep out check down, and those are we're cutting the field in half. We'll make it simple for that guy. Top down.
Thanks.
Awesome. Coach Soren, you got anything?
Well, this is I don't mean for this to be a loaded question, but I'm just trying to get a lot of my players to get in college ball. And I know you guys watch a ton of film and you come from areas outside of Maine. And I'm just wondering if there's something that you see that Maine kids could improve upon through their year, or us as a coach, things that we could help develop those kids in. I know that we have a shorter season. I grew up in North Dakota. We have about the same length of season. We don't have spring ball. Kids are a little bit underdeveloped, certainly athletic enough, but it could be, quarterbacks struggle with post-snap reads, or receivers can't get off press coverage. Or is there anything that you guys have seen consistently that you could share with us that kids could get better at?
I think to not start too big is just have, and I know it's tough, obviously, because not every high school kid's going on to play college football or has that drive to do it, but 15 minutes a day of their own stuff. That's, stuff you're able to provide them with, drills, because Coach Patterson and I, we aren't able to have a ton of contact with our guys in the spring now, but we provide our guys with a script, and we give them, this is your practice plan, and they got to go out and execute it on their own. And then even specifically with the offensive line, the position that I coach is, I give those guys a workout that it takes them 15, 20 minutes to get through. And I give it to them and tell them to be able to get through that stuff, to continue to familiarize themselves with it. Because you can have a kid who is unbelievably committed and does everything you ask, but if all he's doing is getting the practices and the workouts that you're sanctioned to be able to do, that's obviously going to be the ceiling he's able to reach. So just provide the structure for him, provide the drills for him. And if the kid's going to do it, he's going to do it. If he's not, then he might not be all that committed. So just provide. It doesn't have to be a ton. Just provide the drills to be able to help him get through.
Just coming from where I come from in Florida, I think one of the biggest thing is, I agree with everything Coach Matt said. I think you got to do that. And I think you got to put them in competitive situations where they got to compete with each other. Get out in the camp circuits, get into Boston, see what's going on in Mass, see what's going on in Western New York. I think the more variety of kids they can see in surrounding areas and be competitive with those kids to be able to apply your teaching philosophy with their drive, I think the better those kids are going to be, being able to, fire them, the guys up a little bit with a little competition while they're working to give them something to drive them with, so they have somewhere to measure themselves, and stuff like that. But that would be the biggest thing I would take. Get out there on the camp circuit, especially up in New England. A ton of camps going around. Get out there and compete. And I would say this to them too: utilize your local college coaches. I've been here in Maine. I've never seen a state where so many coaches are accessible, and it is in the state of Maine. So get out there and use your resources. Get up there and visit guys, talk with them. Bring the kid up with the coach. Let them sit in on the meeting. But that would be the one thing I would say: get on the camp circuit and compete in the surrounding areas outside the area a little bit.
Coach Brainerd, how about you?
One thing I've been impressed in Maine is, the amount of coaches that are always involved. That Maine, of course we couldn't have it this year, but the clinic down in Augusta was going to be in Portland this year. That's a great event. And I just think the more contact that you guys as high school coaches can have with those guys. I know there's some rules and regulations, but I know Coach Hathaway's passing, camp. I've gotten a chance to go to that for 2 years, and that's a great event, and just more events like that. I mean, just the kids are pulled in so many different directions now with baseball and basketball and football camp and all the different things that they're doing. I just think the more football that you guys could provide for them, the the better off they're going to be. And of course, like Coach mentioned, just, take advantage of us, as the college coaches in the area. Anything that we could do to help, I know all these guys are more than willing to do so.
Coach Vile?
Yeah, I when having talks with myself as a coach, I always got to tell myself that make sure that scheme is always a far number 2 behind fundamentals. And if we want to have more guys going on to play at the next level, or we want to have more competitive games, or you want to win more games as a coach, well, we got to make sure our O-linemen know how to block, right? We got to make sure that our defensive guys tackles. Our quarterback knows how to throw and where to throw it. And, as much as we're trying to improve our X's and O's and that stuff, use every resource you can to find what techniques and what drills are going to make your individual players better and by position. And I think that, the teams that do that are going to have the best product on Saturdays or Fridays.
And I like to add on to it too, just from my years just recruiting in the South. One of the things, if you can have a football class with your kids, a PE class with all your kids in it, entire from the JV on up, or even if it's just a home room class where they have to check in the first 30 minutes of the day naturally with you before they go to their first period. Those are pretty good resources where you can get a lot of time to get some of your teacher progression across to your kids, some of your fundamentals, or to even make up some stuff to make up anything that you feel you're lacking, or even weight room time, conditioning. But I definitely think if you don't have a football class, I think that's something I'll push for if I was you guys up here, having a football class so I can get as many as my kids in that class as possible, everything down from the JV up from the freshman players. I think that will help you guys too, and release some time and stress off you a little bit as well.
For those of you guys that know Billy Fairchild at Oak Hill, that was called advanced PE, and every kid got about 1,000 swings in every fall and winter before the spring hit. Coach St. Hilaire, how about you? You got a question?
Yeah, I got a two-part question. One is we script our first 11 plays, and don't ask me why it's 11. I think it was when we first set it up, we had 10, and we couldn't decide on the 10, so we threw in an 11th. But what do you guys use for scripted plays? About how much time do you put in on those? We found that by repping them the day before in our pregame walkthrough, it helps us execute them better. But the other part of the question is on your play sheet. We're looking to try to be more efficient with our play calling. Do you guys prefer set it up by play type, or by down and distance, or play type with a few down and distance?
Coach Patterson, Coach Brainerd, we'll give you guys part 1, and then Coach Vile, Coach Dugan, we'll give you guys part 2 on the play sheet. So Coach Patterson and Coach Brainerd, do you guys script? Coach Brainerd, you go first.
Sure. Yeah. So I typically, I'm going to script 20 plays going into a Saturday, and those 20 plays are plays that are going to get defense, stress the defense, put them in an uncomfortable position. Maybe it's a new formation or a formation into the sideline or some kind of motion we haven't shown before. That's really what that script's for, is to really just get them feeling uncomfortable right off the jump. And we'll also have a situational script. So, I'm not married to that script. I don't feel like I have to get through all 20 plays. If play 1 and 2 don't work and we find ourselves in a 3rd and 5, I'm going to move over to my third down script. And so we'll come off of that script, that game plan script that we made, and go to a situational script. And that situational script's going to have 3rd and short. It's going to have 2nd and short. It's going to have our coming out. It's going to have our red zone. It's going to have our goal line and a whole bunch of different things. So it's going to have middle of the field play. So when we find ourselves in one of those other situations, other than a 1st and 10 or a 2nd and 5 on a hash, we'll stick to that script, and any other scenario that comes up, we'll move off script and get to that situational script.
Coach Patterson, how about you?
Yeah, for us, we'll script our first 12 to 15 plays, and the one thing that's a little different about us, we'll have the hand of some of our assistant coaches involved with it on offense. Those guys put in a lot of time, so I want to see what they're saying through their eyes as well, to see if it's matching up what I'm kind of thinking as well. But also, that's the one time where I want our assistant coaches to somewhat have some say-so in the play call in our opener. So every coach has a chance to contribute 2 to 3 plays in that segment. And what we'll do is we'll try to stay true to it. But like Coach D said, if when the situation proposes itself, we're in the red zone, or if we're in third down, we're going to come off that script. But what we will do is we'll probably get back on it, open the drive if we have to come back on it. Because at that point in time, you don't want to be running open the script in a bad situation in the red zone. It's just not, you have to be in your change of pace offense or your red zone offense at that point. So you don't want to get caught out there with an offense that's not going to be successful against that particular defensive look. But for us, we're going to go with 12 to 15, and each coach will have a chance to contribute to that.
Awesome. Coach Dugan, you want to talk about call sheet, and then Coach Vile follow up?
Sure. Yeah, and I'll share my screen. And if anybody wants this template, I'd be happy to send it to you. And this was new for us this year, and I really liked the way we had it kind of sectioned off. And so it was two-sided for us. One was base plays, the other side was situations. And so to your question, Coach St. Hilaire, zone runs here on the far left, gap runs next to that. So there we had them broken down by concept. And then it was within each of those fields, it was by formation. So just the way my brain works, I just liked it to go 2 by 2 and then to 3 by 1. And then quick pass, drop back, and then down below with the list of our openers, I always like to have a kind of a notes reminders section of things we want to get to, things we're looking for, and then just kind of other ancillary areas, the things we have for sprint, play action pass, naked, and then the back side of that sheet was then our situations. And within that, I just list out their percentages of blitz, their percentages of man, our 2-minute plays, list of best plays, which it's nice that this one's blank. I guess we sucked that game. We had no good plays that we wanted to run. But I think I just always felt I had a good feel for that and didn't feel like just writing them again. But that's how we had our set up, mainly by the concept and the play type as opposed to the formation.
Awesome. Coach Vile, how about you?
Yeah, so very similar to Coach Dukes. The front page of the call sheet is all of our on-schedule offense, our game plan for the week. So, first and 10 calls, second and 6 or less. And it's broken down by play families. So run game, zone, gap man, quick game screen, drop back pass, play action shots. The opening script is also on that first page. One thing I do that I think a lot of guys don't do is I have a column for if we're on the left hash and a column if we're on the right hash. I know a lot of guys flip it in their head. I just think I can take one thing off my plate on game day and find the play I want and just read it, knowing if we're on the left hash or right hash. It's puts a little bit more on a call sheet, but that also makes us want to put less in total on the call sheet, if that makes sense, in terms of less plays. And then the second page is all of our situations. So we break our third down into 3rd and 7+, 3rd and 4 to 6, 3rd and less than 3. Usually about 5 calls per in all those. A couple calls if we get backed up. Our red zone shot calls, we'll typically run our offense through the red zone, but then be more aggressive through shots. So we'll have some shots in that category. We'll find where their breaking point is, kind of like Dukes talked about earlier, where they're going to change their identity and start playing more man or field-specific coverages. And we'll have an area for that up until about the 5-yard line. We have inside the 5, as well as our 2-point plays. Also have a small section in plays that we want to lean on if we get in a 2-minute situation.
Coach, I'll share a screen with you. I just was able to pull up a example call sheet of ours, if you don't mind, if you guys want to.
Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
But here's, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's an example of one that, that we use here, and stuff like that. We have our base runs here to the left. All right. And also by personnels, if you guys can see there. And then here in the middle, you can see where we have our quick game and drop back, and then I'll open the script as well. And then to your far right, you can see where we have red zone calls and different things of that nature. And this is just a more simpler version of it for the most part, And then we'll leave room for head coach's comments or, different assistant coaches or whatever, so we leave room for adjustments. You guys can see all of that?
Yep.
All right. But yeah, that's kind of the simple. We kind of use the format we use, and also we'll have a section for our tempo as well. You know, the tempo plays that we're going to go in with.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. All right, Coach Goff, I'll let you get in a question, and then we'll let Coach Capone close this thing down. He stayed awake through a lot of this offense stuff. Barely, it looked like you were hanging on there for a minute, dude. But Coach Goff, go ahead.
Yeah, to all the coaches on the panel, when Coach Dearman came on from Kansas and gave his presentation, did any of his presentation whatsoever seem foreign to you men? Or is it simply, you know, whether you're coaching at Division I or Division III, football's football? The second part I'd like to ask is what is the biggest thing that you took from his presentation that might have gave you that, you know, light bulb moment, lack of a better term, that you could see yourself implementing into your systems moving forward?
He brought it up too, that he feels he looks at RPOs differently than most people because he looks at it through the eyes of the O-line, which that's actually probably the most clarity I've had on RPOs, being a former O-lineman watching it that way. So I thought that was really cool, just as he talked about what gaps do they have covered. I think it's really the first time that I've heard somebody break it down like that, talking about RPOs in terms of, you know, normally it's read the grass, read the space, read the will linebacker, read the overhang linebacker. You know, there's a bunch of different terms for it, but I don't think I've ever heard him say, I've never heard somebody say, you know, we have A gap, B gap, C gap covered to the right. We have A gap, B gap, C gap covered to the left. The D gaps are open. You know, here's how we're going to take care of those D gaps, as opposed to now just focusing on the defender. You know, so I thought that was really unique.
I really like the progression built up, and also as simple as his access RPO was, he always had a way out in the answer for the quarterback. That's what I took from it. You know, which a lot of when you get into this access stuff, it's not as always clean and crisp. You know, so I did like his progression, his build up. I thought it was really good.
I liked it when he made the quarterback sign the contract. I thought that was gold.
Oh,
that was good stuff.
Yeah, to your point, Cuss, about that is there was the one that he showed where the kid had access to the outside hitch or speed out, whatever it was. And he's like, why didn't the kid throw that? He's like, because it's not about that. And so many times, you know, a quarterback can get up there. And I think most of us probably usually teach, if it's there, you take it. The cornerback was like 7 yards off, but the kid didn't take it because the kid knew that forced run defender in the D gap was like 7 yards off, and they had the run play.
Yeah, I just like it was just definitive answers. You know, it was just real definitive. Hey, if he's 7-man apex in, let's take him. If the alley is to the boundaries here, we're reading, and it's just very clear. You know, and also you could just tell every time the rule is consistent. Boundary, read, access, field. You know, so I like that. It's pretty consistent. You know, not a lot of thinking.
They have probably about 15 of those football classes you were talking about per day. Have, you know, D1.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you just took that one, the first one, that's enough. I mean, you can shit.
Awesome, Coach Vile, go ahead.
Yeah, I really like kind of like Duke was talking about and putting some gap control on the quarterback. I like that, you know, thinking O-line first. The only thing, like, if you go a route like that, you got to feel pretty good about your offensive line going 5-5 or your offensive line and tight end going 6-6, you know. And if you feel better about being able to complete a speed out than you do going 6-for-6, then that's a discussion that needs to take place. I loved what he's doing with the mesh with his halfback. So we spend, I don't know, close to 80% in the pistol. And when we're doing some of those downhill runs that he was drawing, our back runs straight downhill, and it's up to the quarterback to clear the midline for him. And as I'm watching this presentation, I'm like, well, now I'm asking a quarterback, and I've been doing this for years, I'm asking a quarterback to hop off his spot, make a read, get into a throwing platform, and throw a ball all in an effort to make it easier on the running back. I like how he put stuff on the running back, right? It's like, I want you to slide 45-degree step, and then you need to deliver yourself to the mesh. That just made a ton of sense to me, and something I'm going to discuss with the O staff.